What's going on, everybody? Episode 42 to Let Me Know show. And we have Steven from Leviathen down there below us. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Awesome. Happy to have you. Let me get myself back over to comments.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So how we do things here, here of late, we've had, we're just kind of trying to fill the way out with adding the co-hosts and stuff, but we do have questions tonight. A couple weeks ago we did, and this week we do, but we kind of do a news talk first, and there hasn't really been nothing much about on the news. So we turn to the community, and there's a lot of talk going on about this ball python documentary you put out there. So talk about that, and how did you go about thinking, let me do a bald python documentary, and just talk about that whole process.
Okay, I'm stoked about it. I can talk about it all night, so you can tell me to shut up at any point.
No, go ahead.
So I love storytelling. When I've told this on other lives, so I apologize if anybody's heard this before. By the way, me looking over here is the chat. Chat, you're over here, by the way.
Well, chat's over here to me too.
So I did my undergrad in English, and specifically I concentrated in creative writing because while I was in college and I did my master's in creative writing, all of that stuff, I love science fiction and fantasy novels. This is my favorite. It was I love stories, and my favorite author is Brandon Sanderson. It's just at the time, if I could make a full-time living writing science fiction and fantasy novels, $30,000 a year is all I wanted.
Right.
Barely enough to get by. I would have been that's a dream come true. And obviously, as you grow and you mature, you develop desires for other things. But I still love stories. And as I got older and I got into other different jobs, so I studied English, and wanting to be a science fiction fantasy novelist is wanting to be a rock star. Instead, right. I used those skills with writing and stuff like that to get a job as a freelance copywriter. And I would write for agencies, and pretty much somebody wants an article on their website for a blog. I would do
right.
So I got into marketing that way. And then slowly over time, I ended up getting a position where I was managing the social media accounts for the South Carolina Army National Guard. And then later on, I was the digital marketing manager for the South Carolina Army National Guard. And then now I ended up getting a job with a bank as a digital marketing strategist. Now I run the digital marketing for that bank. And overall, throughout all of that, I learned photography and videography, because that has to deal with a lot of the creative you use in social media. So when I was doing that with the Guard, I would do a lot of videography and photography. So slowly over time, my tastes and storytellings that I wanted to do, I still love books, I still love reading and all that, but it's shifted away from writing novels into more wanting to do long form videography, films, and all that stuff. And I really, really like just the documentary genre. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Meru by, I don't even remember who it is. Timmy Chin, I think is his name. I'm not 100% sure. I apologize. But it's a mountain climbing documentary. It's amazing. It's wild. It's so good. I highly recommend it. Anybody who just likes documentaries. Jimmy Chin. That's it.
I watch quite a few different documentaries, and I think I've actually seen the one. Did the one dude die? Is that the one you're talking about, where they did the documentary and then he died, and then at the end of the documentary they was doing after he died, after the death of him?
There is a character. There's a character that dies, but not one of the main characters.
Yeah,
but
I think I know.
Yeah, there is a great documentary, and it made me want. It's so well done. It's beautiful, and obviously, this guy did it by himself. He's literally climbing on mountains, and he's shooting this beautiful footage. And I'm if he could literally do it on a mountain, this type of thing could be done with the reptile hobby. And because we're already in the reptile hobby, and realistically, at the time when I started being I want to do a documentary, there were no documentaries in the reptile hobby.
That's a surprise.
I think Dave Kaufman released his documentary in the about ball pythons and all that stuff. And I was super, super excited for it. And I think that it's awesome. And he put in a ton of work to it. But to me, because it was him like out in the field doing it.
Right.
It didn't quite have the production quality that I wanted, like from a documentary. So I'm like, okay, there's still room for it. Like, it's not like it's going to be like old. It's not like it's going to be done. There's still room for like studio level documentary. So there were various different topics that I had talked to Courtney about wanting to do. We had talked about trying to do it on like the Sunset Project, but we felt like while we had made like sunsets and banana sunsets, we didn't make anything groundbreaking in the project yet. And it might be a while, and it might not be that super cool by the time that we are able to make something groundbreaking. Another one is we have 2 imports that we got from Africa that are like farm catched, I think it is what they're called. We got them from Outback. Super cool. So we're working them as dinker projects, and we haven't gotten clutches from them. So that's another one. We're like, oh, this would be super cool if we could like, if we did a documentary on establishing a new gene, if that happened. But 1, that'd take years. Right. 2, it would not. It's just a chance it couldn't happen, and we just waste a bunch of years of work for nothing.
But still be worth it at the end. You know?
Right.
Yeah, 1,000% to me. That's sick.
And then ultimately what it landed on, at least for this one, was last year, Courtney and I ran in Chris Eaton's Snakes and the Fat Man 15 Minutes of Lame contest.
Right.
And throughout that, it was like, oh, this could be it. Like, this is a perfect like plot point, like a plot structure where you have characters that are proactively trying to achieve something, and they're going out and putting in effort, and whether they win or lose, it's a story. Like, that is a story. So we used that Chris Eaton Snakes and the Fat Man 2022 contest as the like backbone for it, and then we interspersed elements about the reptile hobby into it. So that's when we talked to like Justin and Donato and lots of other people in the hobby, just talking about how it used to be versus how it is now, about the challenges that it is getting into the hobby in at the time 2023, but now we're going into 2024. And overall, we went all over the country for it, got a bunch of footage, took us about a year to get it all like put together, and we released it on Friday, and people have been super positive. I apologize for talking so much, by the way.
No, dude.
No, we love it.
Explain away. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and take a drink, hydrate, and then keep going.
You should be proud to want to express this information. You know, like that. It's freaking amazing documentary. So I've only picked glimpses of it. I haven't sat down. Me and her actually were talking about it, like when we get free time this week, we're gonna sit down and watch every bit of it because we keep picking little glimpses of it, you know. But bro, it's amazing footage. What I see so far, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're killing it, bro. It's awesome.
All right.
Super excited about
Steven,
it.
I'm sorry you have to witness this, but we're at 20 in the chat, and I do the truffle shuffle at 20. So. All right, now we can get back to the show. Sorry about that. Oh, crap. My phone fell out. That is totally just for laughs, just for fun. And I think it's funny, so you all got to witness it. And that's that. Okay, so now we get into the question parts. And another thing that we want to start doing here is we're going to ask the chat if there's anything that you would like to ask Steven, like put it out there, and we will be sure that we ask him the questions. So what happens when you get to 50 in chat? We did 30, and I donated money to US ARC.
Yes, we do.
50, yep. I don't know. We'll have to sit down and think about that. Give suggestions on that too in the chat.
While you're at it.
Yeah, while you're at it. But for the people that don't know yourself or know you guys, you want to introduce yourselves and where you're from, how long you've been doing this, your normal pitch.
Yeah. So I'm Steven, and then my wife Courtney is actually the one. She's doing laundry right now. So
isn't that?
So she is the one who actually started Leviathan Snakes. So we talk about in the documentary, we kind of like talk about how we got into it. But we started breeding 2020, I think. I think we got like our first snakes like early 2020, like right before COVID like kicked off. And I think we decided to breed in like August of 2020 is when that's when we actually like pulled the trigger and all that stuff and started getting other snakes beyond just like the pet that we had. And overall, the community has just been amazing, super, super supportive. It's been really, really good to us, at least. I feel like that there's some parts of the community have like drama and stuff like that, but I feel like that's never really hit us. So
Right.
Just gotta stay out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people try to throw drama your way, and you just got to dodge it. I kind of dodge it too, and just ignore the naysayers. Like it came out that someone said that the truffle shuffle was a bad look. I think it's funny, so I'm going to do it. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah.
Don't watch them.
Get it, man.
Right.
But yeah, so we started in 2020. We are going in, or maybe we're technically in our 4th breeding season right now. We had gotten some like hatchling. We got a mix of hatchlings and adults. Our very, very first clutch was nothing like super crazy. It was a banana leopard to a pastel. Those
Right.
like awesome babies. We were super, super stoked, and they all sold very, very quickly, and we were super happy for it. But I feel like that since then we have significantly like shifted our focus to where it is not 100% like high end, but we very much focus on like sunsets, super asphalt stuff, clown things.
Right.
Like, yeah, Courtney probably hates it because now I always want to buy expensive things. So,
Right.
That's how I feel every time. I'm like, oh, well, there's another high price one. Damn it.
Yep. No, I'll like every now and then I'll see like Brock put up an animal. I'll be like, I'll text Courtney, I'm like, Brock has an animal. Brock has an animal I want. She's like, no. Like,
You didn't even look at it though.
No.
so
Yeah, well, I'm at the point to where the animals that I need to kind of progress are $2,000 to $3,000 animals. So I'm stuck still trying to make them, but I got some good stuff working.
mm-hmm. No, I get it. It's hard because, and this is not something that we certainly didn't realize it or understand it when we first got in. And I would say like last season was the first year that we really have it happen. But we had bought an animal. I think we paid like $4,500 for this male. And he was a little bit bigger than hatchling size. We bought him and we grow him up to where he's breeder size, but he doesn't lock the whole first year that he could have locked. He just doesn't lock with anybody. And
Right.
by the time that we're able to produce babies from him, that $4,000 male, the exact same snake from the person we bought him from, they're awesome. They're super, super good. Just the market had changed, had gone down to $1,000. That is hard. Luckily, we've only had that happen to us once. Like, we've only had one project that's happened with us on, but it does suck, and we still love that project, and they make amazing snakes. So more people can afford it now.
Right.
Exactly.
That's how I kind of look at it. It's like stocks. Things are going to go up and down, especially in this industry. I've seen things go down and then go back up and then come back down again, So
when I don't want to say the price that we got our first sunset for, because I don't want, like, I don't know if it's public knowledge and all that stuff. When we bought our first sunset, the asking price was $4,500. And after we got him, it went up. I think like at the height of COVID, I saw single gene sunset males going for like $7,000. And now they are down to about $2,500 or so, which if you bought at $7,000, that's rough. Like, but for us, it wasn't like we'd already made back all of our money from the project before that ever happened. So
that's good. That's good.
So Victory Lane has a question. Stephen, do you believe in focusing on one main project? What are your thoughts on diversity of reptiles like ball pythons and leopard geckos, etc.?
I wouldn't quite say one main project, but I think that for most, when I say this, I'm saying like people who are doing this in a spare bedroom, people who are doing this maybe in like a shed in their backyard, like that kind of thing. Not like somebody who has like a full-on 1,500 square foot or more facility. I think most people, if you are really working a project, you actually only have room for probably 3. Like you can have pairings for multiple different things, but when you actually get to the point that you are producing babies and you're holding back babies from it to really work a project, you don't do that with 4 or 5 animals. You do it with like 30 to 50 animals for that project. And you might have 30 females for that one project and 10 different males, and that's how you're able to make new stuff. And I just think that most people who are, at least like us, that aren't doing this full time and don't have a 1,500 square foot facility and a dozen ARS racks, you just don't have the room for it. And you don't have the like time to care for as many animals if you're going to really work a project.
Yep. Makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
as terms of diversifying an animal, like different species, I think that people can do it well. I do think that it is easier to brand yourself for something specifically than saying I have a little bit of everything.
Right. Which I kind of went that path. I kind of went with a little bit of everything. I'm not gonna lie, but also because I also thought too on the standpoint where if I did an expo, I kind of want some lower end, I want some mid end stuff, and I want some high end stuff as well.
Oh, we do the same thing. Yeah, we do the same thing. Like we usually have like a spread of anywhere from $100 to maybe $5,000 is like our price range and all that. But yeah, like when I say like spreading yourself too thin in terms of like branding yourself for stuff like that, is it's way easier if Ken was going to say to me, let's say Ken was going to say to me, hey, I am interested in getting into the Monarch project. Do you know anybody? I know Troy from Best Dressed Balls works the Monarch project, and I would refer you to him because I know he works that project. Now, if he specifically like Monarch Pied stuff, if you were saying that I want Monarch and honestly, Justin from Canova, I am 100% positive he also has Monarch, but I don't think of Justin right away because he doesn't focus on it. And I think that that's the value that you can get when it's not that you only do one thing, but when people think, that's how you get the word of mouth.
Right. And you kind of can specialize it and give outlooks into it. Like somebody can hit you up and like you just said, does a bunch of Monarch, like somebody else could hit him up and say, hey, well, how does this look going into this if I have Monarch and I put this and this? He could already work some of that project and said, well, Leopard will do this and Spot Nose will do this, or so it's good like somebody that works that project more like that and has more of those genes. You could get more knowledge off of them working that gene as well,
Mm-hmm. And again, I think it's great to like we have literally right now we have one puzzle because I'm super, super excited about the Sunset Puzzle project. So we have technically one puzzle animal and we're kind of in the puzzle project. But if somebody was going to ask, hey, if they asked one of you guys, hey, do you know somebody who has puzzle? You're not going to think of us because that's just not a project that we really focus on, even though we technically have one.
Right.
So you want me to read this one or do you want?
Good.
Okay.
Good, dude.
Yeah, just in case somebody's listening in. So Smace Serpents asks, Steven, I've been looking at a lot of imports on Outback. For the future, how would you choose a Dinker project? So it's not like we have a whole lot of experience with this. We literally have only bought 2 and we bought them at the same time. I can actually go into a little bit of a story on how that ended up happening because I very much like them. Ian is a really good guy and he took care of us. So I think that the bull pythons are wildly expressive and there's so many different traits that can affect the phenotype of the animal. That said, there are some traits that are so subtle that they are essentially indistinguishable from a normal. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to be some wild interaction later on and it's going to make, as people like to say, something crazy. But I don't think that that is a smart move. If you're going to do a Dinker project, especially at first, you're going to have to be able to convince other people, if it is genetic, because it might not be genetic, but you're going to have to be able to convince other people that there is a trait there. And I think one of the things people say is like, if you have to squint to see it, it's not strong enough. Right. And unless you have like a very subtle morph, like we'll say yellow belly, and then you find that there's a super form that's wild, like an ivory or a freeway or anything like that. Right. And it's like that level of difference. It's just not strong enough given the availability of all of the other amazing morphs right now. So I think that if you're going to do a Dinker project, you have to be able to take that Dinker animal and imagine that you dropped it in a pile of 20 normals and you can pick it out like that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So a drastic one, like one that has drastic differences.
Now, that doesn't mean that there's not genes that are more subtle because there 100% are. But I think that if you are newer and you are trying to do a Dinker project and you are doing it on something that's subtle, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to sell it.
Right. I get that. You got any questions, Justin?
Absolutely. So let's see. Could you share some insights into the selection process for pairing specific ball pythons to enhance or refine the sunset gene in your future projects?
Yeah. So, I don't know. We've probably made between 50 and 100 like sunsets, het sunsets. So it's not like a ton compared to like Brock or Brad or people like that. But I would say for like somebody who's newer into the project, like we've gotten 2 seasons underneath us where we've hatched out a ton of sunset animals. And there is a huge variability in sunsets. I'm going to pull up a picture just so you guys can kind of see the difference. Both of these animals came from the same clutch that I'm getting ready to show you. They're both sisters. And hold on, I gotta switch over to the other Google Photos.
Let me know when you got that pulled up.
Okay. So they're both sisters, and the pairing was a visual sunset male to a het sunset female. No other genes in it. All right. Present, share screen, Google Photos. All right. It's ready to go whenever you are. Okay, so these 2 girls are both single gene sunsets, and the difference is wild. Wild. Both of them are beautiful, and I think both of them can work in different directions. Obviously, one of them is significantly darker than the other, and the one on the right is actually the one that we ended up holding back. She has just gotten brighter and brighter as she's gotten older. Like she is lightened in color and is much more like golden and all that stuff now. Like she still orange. I might even be able to find I think we just recently posted a reel of her like as like 1,000-gram female. So
I've seen this. I've seen where some are way more oranger and brighter than the others, like because I've just purchasing some myself, so I've just paid attention. I'm like, wow, that one's way more browner than this one's way more brighter,
So what I would say on this is, in my opinion on sunset, is it does weird things to the color, obviously, but it's hard to predict how it's going to work in other combos. I think when you're going for like T-positive albinism genes like banana, like ultramel, the monarch sunset hasn't been hit yet, but I'm assuming it will be very similar. I think very similar to banana, genes that are darker going into banana give you more colors. So I wouldn't be surprised in these 2 animals that the one on the left, the darker one, that animal will produce a much more vibrantly orange sunset if it's put into banana or put into ultramel. I think that on its own, the one on the left, we don't know because we sold it last year, but I would imagine that she probably isn't as bright as her sister is right now, just because she started off darker. And it is, I think, in that direction, it's like, okay, if you want to go ultramel, if you want to go banana, a sunset like the one on the left is the one that you probably want because you're going to get more colors later on. If you want to go like aging really well, clean, bright, the one on the right is the way to go. So maybe if you're wanting to put it in like clown or desert ghost or hypo, the one on the right might be the better choice. And this is something that I think people are aware of this, but they don't consciously think of it, is that there's not really a good and bad example of a morph. There is just, what do you want out of the morph?
Correct.
Right.
That's blowing my mind now, because now I'm really looking into it. I'm like, huh. Definitely just changed my concept on it there for sure.
Yeah, I personally tend to like the brighter ones. I think that if you're just looking at sunset without putting it in banana, without putting it in ultramel, I think that the ones on the right, they hold their colors better, they just age better, they look better, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that the one on the left doesn't have a place.
Right. It's like you said, what are you going to put to it to make it have its place? Like it's still something that out there that it's still so many possibilities. It still needs to be a lot worked on. You want my opinion? So
yeah, that's what I always think of is, there's probably so many genes that it can be combined with that'll be mind blowing and just perfect for it, or perfect for them.
But then you have the opposite side of that there's going to be genes that don't work well with it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like and this is not on any kind of like spider hate, because we do have spiders and all that. We don't have a whole lot, but I just don't particularly like the sunset spider. I don't think that it looks super good. That doesn't mean that somebody else might have a different opinion, but I just don't think that that specific combo looks really good. I also, let me say this. I used to not like the pastel sunsets, and I have changed my mind on that. And the reason why is we have a girl. She's a pastel extreme jeans sunset from Shane from Small Town Exotics. We're doing a collaborative breeding project with him. We're pairing our clown head sunset to her. And she looks amazing. Like, she looks incredible, and she's like 1,800 grams, like radiant. It's the only thing is not only thing. I love the oranges of Sunset, and she is 100% just golden, beautiful snake. And I want those oranges, but I think you can get those oranges back. So that's the only thing with pastels. I feel like shift more towards the yellow hues than the orange hues.
Right.
So where do you see Leviathen at in 10 years, like your mountaintop goal?
I would like, and I'm not saying this will happen, I would like it to be successful enough where both Courtney and I can work the job full time. That said, that is a lot of risk, and I don't know if it's genuinely a smart move to like have your entire family's livelihood dependent on one business, especially like a niche business like reptile breeding. And I do like my job. I love marketing, and like we both earn a very good living, especially for where we live, like the cost of living and all that stuff. It will be very hard for us both to switch full time because we'd have to make, I don't even know, a stupid amount of money for us to do it. Like,
right. Have you thought about like doing like distributing other stuff like cocoa or say Missouri rat food or anything else that you could distribute as well?
We have thought about like various different diversification methods for income, but we don't do very many shows. Like, we might do 3 shows a year or so. We almost, not exclusively, but we sell the vast majority of all of the revenue we make online. And I feel like that it's harder to sell stuff like cocoa online or things like that. Like, I feel like that's better if you are doing a bunch of shows all the time.
Right.
And for us, I feel like we'd end up having like a pallet of cocoa and like do 3 shows a year. And
well, I mean, you could find enough local breeders though around you, stuff that would purchase it off you instead of going to a store spending $35 and could come over to you and spend $25 or whatever. You know, it's a quick little turnaround too. You know?
If we had the space, we'd do rodents all day long. Like, we breed rodents, but we're not self-sufficient, and we spend a lot of money on rodents as it is. We have been talking about for probably about a year of putting up like another building and using it to breed rodents in, and like trying to scale it to the point where we could like supply other people. Cause
there's good money into it. I've had a guy tell like one of us down here, like, look, man, I need almost like $3,000 a week at $2 a piece. I'm like, $3,000 a week, $2 a piece. That's $6,000 a week.
I mean, that's $2. Is that $2 for a small? If so, let's see if they can do runs up to South Carolina, because I think we're paying like 3 something, which is pretty good. Like
that, dude. There's a guy, because there's like we're like at Amelia Island over here, and it's kind of like a little island.
Oh, I was just in the summer. I had a work conference over there, so it's beautiful.
So, bro, like, there's a guy that owns a pet shop over there selling rats for $13 a piece. I'm like, how are you moving them? He's like, man, I can't keep them in my store. They're going off the shelves. And I'm like, well, that's because people don't want to leave this island. They want to just stay right here and go and get your rats instead of going, the 45 minutes down the road to pick them up,
Real quick, completely off topic, but I just saw Smay put in there that they are in like Florence, Darlington area in South Carolina. We're in Aiken, South Carolina. So if you're in the area, let us know.
See, get some good contacts around you. You never know, Steven. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, no, I think that it's smart to not focus solely on like one thing in terms of like just ball pythons. I just think that it's hard because if you spread yourself too thin, you'll do everything like average at best rather than being great at one thing. But I don't think that applies to cocoa or something like that. Like, I'm just saying, like, in species and projects and stuff like that, I very much believe I'd rather try to be the best at one thing than be a little bit of everything.
Right. If there was another species that you would get involved in, what would it be?
I like, not that we have them, I just think they look super cool, red-eye crocodile skinks. The reason why we haven't done that is that, like, we haven't gotten any of them, is that they're fairly reclusive, and it's just, I don't really know, like, if we just keep them as pets or if we try to breed them, I don't really know what the market would be like for that. I know Courtney wants to do rainbow boas at some point. So we used to have boas, like boa emperators, and honestly, they scared me. Like, they, like, ball pythons are cute, and if they're like being feisty, you like you touch them on the head and they're like, oh no, and they
Stop
hide.
that. Yeah. Stop that.
If
Calm down.
you try to calm down a boa by tapping it on the nose, it's gonna fight you. It's gonna take
Fight the shit out of you.
like, it's not
It's
the
like,
same.
what's up? That baby
No.
tower ain't shit. Come on.
And they hit hard. Like, we had a huge one, and it's like we'd see him like take a rat, and it would be like, it's certainly harder than I could throw a fist. Like, God, they hit hard. So I can't imagine how much. Like, if they actually like straight up struck and wrapped you like a feeding response, like while you're putting something in, it hurt. Like,
Oof.
Yeah, you'd probably bleed a bit.
but yeah. So we had boas, but we ended up selling them just because that we didn't want to breed them, and we had two. So.
And I think the crocodile skinks too, you can keep like as like a little pack together. From what
I was gonna say, aren't they arboreal? You can keep them all together.
Yeah, you kind of keep it together.
Yeah, I know it. I haven't done a whole bunch of research, but yeah, I was like either in like 1.1s or 1.2s, but you don't put two males together because the males will fight or something like that.
Right. Kind of like you're doing your rats, you know. You do like
the troll or not. But I think we got our first troll, guys. We got the famous Michael Scott in our chat. What's up, dude? He's declaring bankruptcy. Well, good for you. Okay, Steven. So what superpower would you like to have? If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would have you guys read the Mistborn series from Brandon Sanderson?
I'm not much of a reader. I'm a movie guy.
All right, so there's a power in it. I'm not going to go into like the whole thing, but there's a power that a character can have where there's two different characters that have two different powers. One of them is that they could like put up a little bubble around them, like imagine like 5 feet radius around you, and inside that bubble you can move at your regular speed, but to the outside world it looks like you're like zipping around. So like it might feel like 5 minutes have passed for you, and to everybody outside the bubble it looks like 5 seconds have passed. So that would be like super cool because it'd be like really useful to like get work done if you procrastinated, or if you really need to like go in and like clean out all the snakes and you're like, oh, I don't have enough time, and you throw up a little speed bubble and you zip around and get it all done. I think it'd be super useful in like real life. The other option is the inverse of that, and it's a slow bubble. So in that situation, is you throw up a little bubble around you, 5 foot radius, and instead of you going, like if you feel like 5 minutes has passed, or it's not that 5 minutes has passed on the outside, it's that 5 hours has passed on the outside. So that would be perfect if you're like traveling a lot, and we travel all the time, like all over the country. If we could just get in the car, jump in a plane, and throw up a slow bubble, and it just feels like we're there. Oh yeah, 100%. I wanted those two.
That's pretty neat. I don't think we'll ever hear that answer again.
Yeah.
Good one, man.
Yeah, it's not mine. It is so it's bendalloy and cadmium are the powers that it's from the Wax and Wayne trilogy from Mistborn.
Decent.
What about you guys? What's your
So
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask.
You're a big reader, but you're more into like what your criminal books and stuff.
Yeah, I'm more into like crime fiction.
Get it?
Yeah, and you know the normal like Hunger Games, those I read when I was a kid. You know, Twilight. Of course, I'm a Potterhead 100% to this day, but that's besides the point.
Have you read the Robert Galbraith ones that Rowling did? She did it under the pen name, but they're like very much crime.
No,
Oh, Courtney loves them. They're awesome. How many? I don't know, Courtney, if you want to put it in the chat, if you can hear me. But
yeah, put it in the chat, please. I want to know.
But yeah, really good book.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have like this place called Chamlin's by us that's like called Chamlin's Book Mine, and it's like all used books, and the place is huge. You can get, it's like amazing, or you'll get lost in the place, you know. And we'll go there and spend hours. Next thing you know, I'll be looking around the corner, she's gone over here.
Oh my gosh, if you guys are readers, you would love it so much. I mean, you turn a corner and you're like, surely this is the end of the store, and there's no lie, like 5 more aisles just packed full of books. It's heaven. It's heaven.
Yes, Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's J.K. Rowling wrote it under a pen name.
Okay.
That's cool.
Awesome.
But if I had to pick a superpower, it'd be invisibility.
All right. Why?
I just think that would be cool.
All right.
I mean, like if I needed money, I could just turn invisible, go walk into a bank and grab some money. Like they're really going to stop some floating money. Even if they see it, they're going to see floating money and be like, what the hell's going on here? You know, I mean, they're just going to be all freaked out and, you know, I just get what I want.
I'd want the power to heal. If I could just touch you and heal you, you know, that'd be the shit right there. Of course, then again, I'd probably never left alone. Be like a line out my front door. Like
Yeah, then you'd have a line out your front door. You'd never get no peace.
You couldn't tell anybody really. You know, you just boom, gone.
Then think if a guy came up to you and had herpes. You know, could you get this off with me? Or hemorrhoids. Man, my hemorrhoids hurt. You gotta help me, buddy.
Gotta touch me.
Just touch me, please.
Oh no.
So what projects are you guys in? I know, Justin, you guys are in like Sunset. You bought your first Sunset at Daytona, or was that not your first one?
Yeah, that was actually my first one I bought at Daytona, yes. And I got the Sunset Banana there. And then from on out, I went and got another Sunset female, which so I had the 0.2, and then I got a male clown het Sunset.
Oh, yep, right there. Yep.
Oh my gosh, he's beautiful. He's one of my favorite looking snakes. I don't know. The clown with the sunset. Oh my gosh. Well,
there's 100% a het influence, specifically in the. All right, let me say this. Let me throw this.
The dorsal will tell you all day long.
I do not believe that there are het sunset markers if you are just in general. Like we've hatched out so many different hets and double hets. There's not a defining characteristic about all of them where I'd be like, this is the thing, except in clown. In clown, if a visual clown has het sunset, in my opinion, it looks like a fire clown pattern without as brightness of the fire clown. Like
that's good to know.
See, I always think it's the dorsal spots. You know, here
yeah.
Show you. That's what I look for when I see a lot of het sunsets. I've noticed that now. Like if you look at the dorsals, you'll see the little spots. You know,
in clown or in just in general.
I wouldn't say just in general. I've seen a few other hets that have had them, and again, like I've said, I've seen a few other hets that didn't have them at all either.
Yeah,
you know? So
that's my thing on it. When I think, because people ask us like if we think there are het sunset markers, is there are similarities I can notice in like within a clutch. Like I can have, those right there. That's exactly what I'm talking about when I say like the in clown. Like and the head stamp too. Is his head stamp just wonky and broken up? Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like,
you know,
yeah, he's one of the best looking ones.
Yeah, in clown, I feel like that there are het sunset markers.
Yeah.
Visual clown. But I feel like in the normal, like non-visual clown, like just other hets or double hets, they just vary so wildly that I can't say like this is the thing. Like,
right. That it's kind of true what you just said, because it's not like I've looked and I've always thought, and now I'm like, well, you really can't go off that dorsal spotting on some of them, but it's crazy. Now it makes me like want to write a list when I go through Warmark. Like, I see it on this one, this gene, so I can have them down. Like, all right, this one will show visually, but I don't feel like it shows visually with these, you know. But that is wicked to know that too, you know. Also, another big one that we're trying to work on. I picked up a 1.1 furrow, possibly het monarch.
Oh, that's awesome.
From KC. So, and I've seen the monarch that was involved. So I could look at it and I feel like there's a lot of influence in it. So I'm like, I think I hopefully I could hit. Keep fingers crossed, you know. But either way, I got the furrow. I run the super on that as well. I'll hold back some supers and run those in some other projects as well, you know.
Claudio doesn't live too far away from us. He lives maybe like 2 hours or so. So we got the mom that made our very first visual clowns that we ever did. We had gotten the mom from Claudio.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he's good people. I like him. He's a really nice guy for sure. So, and I got some adders from him, the black adder, het red exanthic, and stuff like that. Try to run some adders. I like the black adder. That little zigzag on the belly just blew my mind.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so awesome.
What about you, Ken? What projects are you like really excited about?
I hatched out some hypo clowns or clown het hypos this year that are just really awesome. So that's where I'm more advanced right now, but what I'm excited for is I'm pairing a super pastel het clown het sunset to a blade lace clown female. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I kind of want that to come out. And then when I get that new male up to size, he's going to be going to a lot of stuff. He's a special Enchi lace het clown from Finger Snakes. So I'm interested in getting him up and going. But I'm not going to rush him in. I'm not going to put him into the rotation until he's around 600-700 grams. I'm not like trying to fly right into this. I mean, this year, like, was my first year, and I only had 3 clutches, but I'm kind of glad I only had 3 clutches because it just gave me a little taste and an example of what I'm going to need if I have 10 clutches. You know what I mean? Right. So it's letting me be prepared to expand it and have more. So I think year 2, I'm going to have around 10, and I'm kind of more ready for it now. Because if they would have went last year, I'd have been like, holy shit, I got all these snakes. What the fuck am I going to do with them all?
Yeah, I personally think that like getting in like too fast, and you might not even realize. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying like general, like you.
I kind of jumped in too fast, and if everything would have went, I would have been up to my ears in snakes. But having that, and then realizing where I'm at and what am I doing and my capabilities, basically, it kind of just all right, cool. Slow your drills down a little bit. Got a little excited there. Calm down.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, everybody gets excited. If we weren't excited about this, why would any of us be doing it?
Exactly.
We're stoked to be able to do this. I do think that the excitement can be detrimental early on, because if you get in over your head and, like, let's say that you buy, I don't know, 20, 30 snakes in your first year, and you get like 10 adult females, and all of the females go, and now you go from 20 to 30 snakes while you're just kind of learning that to like 150 snakes that you have to take care of. It's really hard. And if you have trouble selling your animals, because if somebody just didn't develop like their marketing funnels well enough beforehand, it can crush you, because you're just feeding 150 snakes. You don't have room for them. People aren't buying them. People aren't buying them when you are able to sell them for the prices you think they're worth. And it just makes you feel like, well, the entire market is bad. I'm going to get out of it because there's obviously no money in this. And in my opinion, I think that if that same person just simply had chilled out, instead of doing 30 snakes, they had 5, and they grew into it, they would have done much better.
Right.
Better. That makes sense.
And that's another thing I'm kind of doing, because of course I have like 20 different triple and double het projects, and I'm narrowing it down to like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just chilling out and I'm really concentrating on these 3 or 4 double recessive projects.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now I know I'm a very strong proponent of like specialize in something, so that way people know they know you for something. I don't think that that's the only way that you can do it. Like, and if you don't have the money to go out and buy, and this isn't for anybody here, just in general, you don't have money to go out and buy like sunsets and monsoons and zebras and paints and all of these different double or triple projects. You can still do it with like pet level animals, as long as you're making the right animals. Like, if you're making beautiful banana combos that are bright and flashy and are under $500, you're still probably going to be able to sell those animals at local shows. And then once you get that money, then you can reinvest that money into higher end stuff, and you keep working your way up.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's still simple genes and great combos out there that haven't been made too as well, that like still pop up. You're like, wow, that's 3 simple and complete dominant genes, and it just made that. That's sick,
Oh
so
yeah.
There's still, and you can still make a good come up, and like you said, you take those and invest higher. You just keep, like Billy does. I follow him a lot. He just says upgrade every year. If you could upgrade, pull 1 or 2 out and upgrade them, just keep climbing and climbing and climbing.
All right.
Yeah, nothing happens overnight, that's for sure. And this is definitely a patience game, 1,000%. So,
all right, I have a random question for you guys. I'm throwing you guys on the spot. All right, if you guys let me. All right, so let's say that right now you had to jump into a new project. Let's just say you don't have any projects. You're a new breeder. You're getting in, but you are going to do it with the knowledge and experience that you have right now. What is the most cost-effective way to get into a new project that is still going to have like a good return on it 3 years from now, once you're able to actually produce animals?
Oh, I mean, like everyone seems now to be wanting to grab onto paint or sentinel.
Mhm.
I mean, like, you're going to miss it if you don't have it already. So I mean, like, you kind of got to just, I think Hypo Clown, if you could hit Hypo Clown with the ground running, because it's a cheaper aspect to go and you can buy a little bit bigger animals for your money, I think Hypo Clown is going to come up. I would start there.
I don't know. I've figured out, throughout my slowly process of me buying snakes and stuff, that there's a lot of people out there willing to do payment plans as well, And if you're really interested into like a really high price snake and want to keep your beginner guy getting into it and don't have a lot of money, there's easy payment plans out there with guys that will let you keep putting a little bit of money down and buy you that level 3 snake, and it gets you a couple of heads cheaper for it, and then run it down the road. And then you hit those visuals and then you make a little bit of money. Then you can climb from there, That's kind of like my thought process on it now. Trust me, I didn't go that route. So there's a lot in here. But now I would sit back and go that route. If I could, I would sit back and do that route for sure, But it's all a learning game for all of us. We're all going to learn. It's all growing. You got some growing pains in it. You're going to get it, So
Alex or Alexandra, I don't know if you like Alex or Alexandra. Like
either one. Everybody calls me all different things. I second that. I mean, I would definitely start probably smaller than what we did. That's for sure. We kind of went all out, which I love. But at the same time, I think of things that, like what you said about just kind of being a little bit in over your head whenever, the breeding really starts happening. But, also too, if you do it smart, there's always like donations, like with auctions and, different things. And of course, just, upgrading as you go. You're always going to get things at first where you're like, maybe that wasn't, what I would do now, like you said. But, just kind of maybe being smarter, of course, about the selection and just going smaller rather than like, I like that. That looks good. We could put that with this,
Right.
It sounds good, but, but it'd be cooler to kind of make some of those and then put them back and, do all that stuff. That's kind of the fun part. But now I feel like we have like endless possibilities. So,
you guys have a killer animals, like awesome stuff.
Thank you. We're very excited.
I really
we can't
appreciate
wait.
that. Yeah.
So the Capital City Bowl Pythons asks, what project would you buy into? So my answer kind of goes with this, and I'm going to say like specific stuff. And this isn't like, I just had made notes. I haven't made the YouTube video yet, but I had made notes on like one. And I'm going to first say one that's biased because it's my favorite project, but then I'll give like one that if I wasn't doing one that was my favorite project. So I love the Sunset stuff. And I think that one of the most developed double recessive sunset projects that's really starting to pick up steam is the Sunset Clown project. I don't know if anybody's seen the yellow belly sunset that Justin hit, yellow belly sunset clown that Justin hit, or the leopard yellow belly sunset clown that he hit. That's het pied and has an amazing ringer. Like, it's just beautiful. His spot nose sunset clown is insane. Like, we were down at Justin's doing the interview for the doc when that had its first shed. Beautiful, like one of the best looking snakes I've ever seen. And the reason why I think that this is really good is that there are big players who are just now starting to make the combo double visuals. And even then, there's like a gene in Sunset Clown being added in. So what I would do if I were trying to get into a project right now, I would go with the Sunset Clown project. But if I was trying to do it on a budget, I would get this animal is on Morph Market when I checked, whenever I was making these notes like 2 days ago. It's an Orange Dream Leopard Double Het Sunset Clown for $850 from Jason Kittinger. And it's 50% Het hypo too. So once you got that male, I would then buy a Het Sunset female from Brock for $575. I would buy an Inchy Spot Nose Probable Red Stripe Clown from Jersey Guys Balls for $650. I would buy a Black Pastel.
He's got that planned out.
Oh no!
This is what I like Steven right here.
I love it, man.
Yeah, Black Pastel Double Hypo Clown from Banana Bread Royals. All those other ones besides that male they're all females. And I also have on here a Fire Disco Mojave Clown from us because we're making a YouTube video for it. So that'll be like the snake we have in there.
So get that one too.
Yeah, that too. So the reason why is you put that one male who is Orange Dream Leopard and then Double Het to in this specific situation, your Het Sunset. You are looking to hold back visual sunsets that have Orange Dream Leopard or both of them. That would be 50% Het Clown. Then you would to anything like that, you would send in the sheds and test if they're het clown. Because if they prove to be het clown from those, in that case, that specific situation, the $1,300 that you're in, instead of making $1,300 snakes, you are then, and this is accounting for depreciation and stuff, an Orange Dream Leopard Sunset that proves to be 100% het clown, that animal is going to be, let's say 3 years from now, $5,000. Right now it'd be way more than $5,000, but let's say 3 years from now it's $5,000 animal, and I'm in the Sunset Clown project, as in me specifically. So when I'm wanting to add new genes into my Sunset Clown project, I'm going to be looking for combo visuals that are het for the other one, and that's the type of animal I'd want to buy. And you'd be doing that over and over again with each of these females. You'd be doing it, instead of sunsets, you'd be making visual combo, visual clowns that you'd test for sunset. And you're going to be making animals that are thousands and thousands of dollars. And the only thing is you're not getting every single one. So you got to test. So there's a little bit of odds, but whether you hold them back or you're selling them to people who are like me, who are trying to expand our Sunset Clown project 2 or 3 years down the road, that's what I'm going to be looking for. And that's what I'd try to make. Like,
right. Another thing, I've said this on other, like, some point in times when we've been talking, but what I'm trying to do is super. So, like super chocolates, then an elite combo, like a highway hypo clown. Like, so when you breed those, you're getting chocolate, you're getting asphalt or asphalt or gravel or whatever. And then you're getting the hets, even if you just take it to a normal. You're not making, just regular clowns or whatever.
I love the highway clown project, the freeway clown project, super gravel, super asphalt clown project. Yeah. I think that is probably one of the most underrated projects because they are so stunning. Like,
they're sick. They're
amazing. I just think that people get so focused on the idea of like, it has to be a double recessive or a triple recessive, and that they overlook the yellow belly complex, which 100% acts just like a recessive, and they're amazing looking.
I'm all over the yellow belly complex. I got all kinds of yellow belly complex animals.
We picked up so another thing, I'll talk about genetic testing all day because I love it, and RGI is awesome. We really, really like them. So we picked up at Daytona, when you guys picked up that banana sunset, we had picked up an inchy gravel hypo clown male from Bob, and we're stoked. And the thing is, at first, Courtney's the one who got him. At first, I didn't want him because we had worked asphalt beforehand. And it wasn't until Courtney was like, well, with genetic testing, you don't have to worry about like only working your asphalts and not mixing them and all that stuff. Because if you ever have a question, you just test it. Like, and it's, in my opinion, I think that genetic testing has made the yellow belly complex, instead of 5 different tiny projects, all one giant project that's completely compatible with each other, where like the biggest downside to Xanthic, which I love Xanthic, is that there are 5 different lines of Xanthic that are incompatible. So if we have a VPI Xanthic combo and somebody's in TSK Xanthic, you can't buy each other's animals.
Right.
So, but I love genetic testing. I think it's opened up the entire yellow belly complex. So it's just one big project, made it a much bigger market. And I think it's awesome. I think it's completely underrated. And it is.
Do you think the shed testing is going to have people shoot for the moon a little bit, like do a little bit higher odds now that you could have the testing,
We 100%, we are. And if we're doing it, other people are doing it. And the thing is, like, yes, your odds are way less to get the animal that you want. But in a lot of situations, you only need one. Now, yes, your byproducts might not be as valuable. But for example, we have a clown het sunset male that is breeding right now. We are pairing him to a super asphalt female. So we're going to make asphalt 100% het clowns, 50% het sunsets. We'll test the entire clutch. Anything that's a asphalt double het sunset clown, we're going to hold back. And what that ends up doing is it lets us skip an entire generation of growing animals up, because we don't have to wait till we hit the sunset clown before we can make that pairing. And if we didn't have genetic testing, we had to go through that step. And now that we have genetic testing and we don't have to go through that step, it makes people who are smaller like us much more competitive with the biggest people in the hobby who've been in for 20 years. The biggest people in the hobby are 100% have so many more animals, so much more development in their projects. They're always going to be ahead, but at least now we have a fighting chance. If we get really, really lucky and we hit the odds, we can make the same level of animals that they're fighting.
That's kind of like how I feel with like Justin McCanova and stuff. It's like he could shoot for the moon on his odds because he has 20 snakes to pair to shoot for the moon on those odds, and hopefully hit 1 or 2 of them out, all those clutches, you know, and therefore it pays back for hitting those crazy ones, you know, like it just, he's definitely ahead of the game. They say 10 steps ahead, you know, that's what I try to tell everybody. I'm like, look, if you show something, don't think you ain't 10 steps ahead, you know.
I gotta say, I personally love it whenever Justin puts out a video and it is a project. Like if he puts out a sunset video, I'm like, hell yeah. It doesn't matter if he comes out and he has the spot nose hypo DG sunset that's het for clown that he hit. Like that's an amazing animal, and it's so far beyond anything we're going to do for 10 years. I'm so excited for it because he has Justin, Brock, Miguel, so many different people that are huge figures in the hobby are pushing the project that we are in, and it helps us out all day long. Sunset has been easily the most in demand project. I can actually pull up numbers, but I won't do it and all that stuff. I know for a fact it is our best selling project.
See, and everybody wants to call it the brown turd, and there ain't no brown turd.
It's again, I get that people have different tastes, and if somebody doesn't like the Sunset Project, I don't think that they need to get into the Sunset Project, and it probably would be a bad thing if you didn't like the Sunset Project and you got into it because you're like, well, Steven says it's his most in-demand project. Partly it's our most in-demand project is because I love it so much that I talk about it all the time and people know us for it. If you hate the project and you're talking bad about it, nobody's going to come to you to buy your sunsets from you.
Right.
So I don't think that anybody can just jump in the project and do well, but I think that it doesn't matter what anybody says, like, oh, it's brown and I don't like it. It's like, that's cool. You don't like it. There's 100 other people who do.
Right.
Oh, I up it up. I'm like, it actually isn't. I'm like, man, I could see where you could set it over aging, but I see a lot of orange. I see a lot of flaming. Like I see a lot of potential in the snake down the road, you know? But I also see like some people that want to do hypo and do certain things too and go like, and I feel like that's going to be the next big thing in Sunset is you're going to start seeing a shit ton of Sunset hypos, you know?
I agree. I think the hypo, I think both the hypo Sunset and the DG Sunset look really good, but the hypo Sunset it keeps more of the oranges. And I think that at least on just the base, like if not base, just double recessive, I think the hypo Sunset holds more true to the sunset colors than DG does. I think both of them look awesome. I think they both age amazingly. And obviously putting them together, they look great. But I think I agree on that.
Yeah.
We're doing Sunset. We're actually kind of doing both, but we're further in the Sunset DG project. We have a chocolate inchy double het Sunset DG that we had produced not last season, the season before that, and then 2 females. One of them is a chocolate inchy double het, and the other one's a chocolate double het Sunset DG female.
How do you feel like a T positive going into it, like a rainbow or something like that?
I don't really know. I've heard people talk about rainbow, and I've seen pictures here and there, but I don't know enough about rainbow at all to even like potentially begin to say like how rainbow would work in sunset. I do think the lavender sunset looks awesome. Not saying that lavender and rainbow are the same, but I think the lavender sunset looks awesome. I don't think the albino sunset looks awesome. I'm trying to think of what else.
And I can see that lavender's got that old, what I call that yellow, the old
It's like
What's up, Wiz?
Harvest gold.
like harvest gold is like the old yellow, you know, that's what it reminds me of like lavender does.
I think the candy sunset could look cool, or the candy / toffee, depending on whatever. I know they're the same, but I think that could look cool. But just because of how, all right, so I love banana sunsets. I think banana sunsets are one of my favorite sunset combos, especially immediately out of the egg. The only thing I wouldn't say I don't like, I am disappointed by it, but it also makes you want to like find the thing that keeps it better. They are the most orange snakes I've ever seen in my entire life. When they hatch out, and maybe for like the first 3 to 4 months, and then they shift more towards like the yellow hues of banana. And if you could just keep those oranges longer, it would be amazing.
Oh yeah. I can already starting to see the change in mind. I'm like, God, if you would just hold that color or hold this color, but it's still a gorgeous snake. No matter what, I pull it out and I can sit there and stare at it all day.
Oh yeah.
And that's actually the banana sunset. She's like the most like want
she's
to
like,
know what's going on all the
she's so
time.
curious.
Like, yeah, the most
I mean,
curious
right
one
when
of
you
all.
open her, I mean, we could do it right now. She's right behind us, and she'd be like, "Hi."
Have you, and I don't know if this is true or not, I've just noticed it in like ours. When you guys hold your sunsets, do they often just kind of like, oh, I want to go explore up here?
Yes!
They almost always go
Yeah.
up. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know
Almost
why.
like our
Yeah.
king snake does. Like our king snake will pick its
Yeah.
head up and kind of stare. Like
Yep.
she almost wants to do the same thing almost
But
every time.
it's more like you said, like she's more like ooh, and she's like looking up. Like it's less like looking like you know, it's less standing up and looking. It's more like ooh, what's up there?
Yeah.
And they go higher, and then I'm like holding her by her tail. I'm like, girl, I'm about to like lose grip on you.
They're super curious. Like I don't like.
That's so funny you said that because I noticed that so much with her. With her specifically. So
Yeah.
All right,
Really
Stephen.
cool.
So if you have the attention of the whole reptile community, what would you want to tell them?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, and I don't have any notes prepared for that one. I would all right. So the whole reptile community. So literally everybody who owns a reptile, or are we talking about breeder community? Because that changes things.
Let's say the YouTube community, whole YouTube reptile community, everybody.
Oh, I don't even know on that one. I would say if everybody who is in the YouTube world, whether they're watching lives or in comments or stuff like that, if you don't like something, that's fine. But if you're going to somebody's channel and being like, I don't like whatever it is about it, doesn't. Unless it's like ethically wrong, I just don't think it really helps out anybody. Like,
right.
But it's just like they're just going to get mad at you, and I just think that stuff like that just breeds like negativity in the hobby. It's like if you don't like something, that's fine. Nobody's making you watch it. Nobody's making you comment on it. Nobody's making you do anything like that. Like, just,
exactly.
I don't know. I that's just I think that people feed in, maybe not feed in. I think that it is not uncommon for social media to breed negativity and conflict because conflict is interesting and it is engaging. But I think that it ends up making everybody's lives just worse. Like,
right.
There is this is related, but a tangent on this. I don't remember what it was. I think it was, I don't remember where I had seen it at, but it was like some study that was done, and it was talking about how the idea of like gossip, like if there's something that's going down and you're talking about drama and all that stuff, is the theory is that it is an evolutionary adaptation that helps with survival, because the idea of it would be that like prehistoric humans that are like out in the wilderness and all that stuff, if I go out and eat a berry and I die, and Justin sees me die, and if he is predisposed to go to Ken and say like, hey man, Steven ate a berry and died, it's much more likely Ken and Justin are not going to go eat the berry. So something bad happened, and the people who are willing to talk about bad things happening to other people had a greater chance of passing on their genes, is the theory of it. So it's essentially we are genetically hardwired to gossip and talk about drama.
Right.
Makes sense. That does make sense. You know, makes completely sense.
That's funny.
All right. So the only other question I got for you is, what is something would you have liked to talk about that we didn't ask you?
So we talked a little bit about the documentary before the show. Did we actually talk about it during it? Or so much? I know we talked
a little bit during it.
There was a question right before we started that I had said, like, do we want to wait until the show? I don't remember what it was.
It was the question I asked, actually. I was like, was it about like you trying to get it on? Because I was like, told you, I was like, you should try to reach out and get on Netflix possibly.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. So this documentary is our very first one that we've done. Super, super proud of it. That said,
you should be.
I think that let me say this, not that if I would do it over again, if I did it over again, I'd 100% do everything we did, given the constraints. When we do our next thing that we're going to work on, our next big project, instead of it being as big of a scope, we're going to focus it down to like one kind of person. There might be multiple people being interviewed, but like this upcoming year, for March Tinley, we're going to go down to Bob Vu's place, and we're going to like, pretty much follow them around as they get ready for Tinley, while they're at Tinley, all of that different stuff. And we're going to do like a piece on Bob Vu. We're going to do one on Patrick and Andre from Chimera. Brock Wagner, Troy from Best Dressed Balls, Josh Lumberg, and then there's like some other people that we've talked about like doing stuff too. But I know those are ones that have like committed, like, yes, we want to do this kind of thing. And what we want to do with this one is, rather than it be like an hour and a half episode or movie or whatever, we are going to kind of focus it more down to like 30 minutes to an hour and make it like episodes and do like a mini series on like not 100% on like what is the history of Bob's Balls. So that might be part of it. But instead, we want to try to find a story for each person that's different and develop that story with them. And part of that story is probably going to be introducing them as characters, but they all have to have their own plot line. Like talking about how somebody got into the hobby is great, but there's so much content like that. We want the story.
Right. That's really cool, actually. And like I said, if you reach out, I don't know how, but like I think it'd be really awesome to see something like that could go on Netflix and the whole world can see
Honestly,
and learn more about the ball pythons and the community, you know. Yeah, you know, you never know. Something like that, they could reach out to you, you know. You get that email one day, like, wait, what is this?
I did see, just because I was like researching and all that stuff. So like Netflix is a bit harder to actually like get stuff on, because you have to like have like an agent and they have to pitch and all of that stuff. Amazon Prime's not super hard because you can submit to Amazon Prime yourself. You don't have to have an agent. And I'm not saying that it'd be awesome to get it on Netflix, but I'm also not at that level yet. Like I know the documentary looks awesome, but there's like specific requirements. Like, for example, when you record for like Netflix or something like that, you need to shoot in like a log profile, which is like a different way that your image works. That way you retain more information in it. And if you shoot in a log profile, you have to color grade it. And I am trash at color grading. So we don't color grade. We just shoot it out of the camera. How it looks, all of our videos is how it looks in the camera. Not quite raw. So raw. There's different things. So we're actually using like the like Canon codec because we use Canon cameras that it comes with. It's pretty much like if you were to grab a Canon camera and shoot it out of the box, as long as you had the settings exactly how we have our settings, it would look exactly how we shoot it. Like so we have a Canon R7, we have a Canon R8 as our two cameras right now. I like the 35mm prime lens as like my favorite lens, but we also use like a 50 and a 16mm depending on what's going on. And we use the lighting. Lighting is 99% of like your photography and videography. Like right now I have like one ring light that is kind of styled as like beauty lighting is the kind of technique for it. And this is where you have like one light that is like slightly higher coming down. And what it does is it evenly illuminates your face, but it hits a shadow. Hold on. I'm trying to find it over here. It's weird on the camera. It hits a shadow on your jaw line. So that way it makes it more defined on how you're setting up your stuff. But when I do a lot of our YouTube videos, I don't do beauty lighting. I'll do I don't even remember. It's a 2-point lighting setup, but I am creating the key light is hitting, like if it was this, it would be hitting this side of my face, while this side of my face is in like somewhat shadow, and it helps create depth. So
it gives you that depth right there. Yeah. That hallway feature, you know, and you got the depth settings too on the camera. I'm sure you have them with like your F3, your 3.3s or
your aperture.
Your aperture, exactly. And you can adjust that as well. Like I said, I have a Sony A7II. That's what I use.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I have another lens. I have two lenses. The one that came with it was okay, but there was another lens I went and spent some money out on and use it, it's a great lens. And I got that one that has like the auto where I can swap over from like the manual focus to the auto focus as well and all that, you know.
I think Sony in general right now makes better video cameras than Canon does. Like Canon makes awesome video cameras. That's what we use and all that stuff too. In general, they have more features for a cheaper price, and Sony cameras, like an FX30 is an amazing Sony camera, cinema camera. Like people shoot movies off of that camera, and it's like $1,600, where the Canon cameras, to get like something that's roughly equivalent, you're going to need to spend like $3,000 to get that rough equivalent of a camera. But the reason why I like Canon more than Sony in situations like YouTube is I think that Canon's color science is better than Sony's. I think Sony tends to be more blue and green hues in their image overall, where Canon is warmer. Like if you look,
the Sony 2 is like, you can see like mine actually, like I have my yellow settings on my light brought down to the lowest, and you see how bright I still look. Sony, for some reason, like, and I can turn off all the lights, and for some reason it has a problem with really brightness. It wants to brighten everything up.
It wants to make us look like angels.
It does.
So,
It does.
Sony is awesome, and you can do amazing stuff with Sony. But that's why, as I feel like that color is a personal preference on what you want. But I just like the Canon color science that they use.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the clarity in yours for sure. How it's definitely picking up the, like I said, you can see like the blue tint over mine compared to yours. You know, you can see that it's definitely that brighter. It's different, a little different.
Yeah, yours is very true. It looks very true to tone. Everything about you.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Ken, what do you use? Do you use a camera or a phone?
I'm using a phone right now, but I mean, I just got a laptop and I'm working on getting everything set up. I almost had it working tonight, but I couldn't get the mic to work, so I just said, screw it, I'm going back to the phone. But I'm slowly upgrading.
Yeah, and that's what we do. Like when we started off, we used that. It's all the way up here. You can't see it. It's a Nikon D750. It's a stills camera. This was our very first camera. This is all our first YouTube videos were on this one. Great camera. It looks awesome. Doesn't have any autofocus. So that was a it would be like things where we would like one of us would sit down on like the chair and the other person would focus it, and then we could like move, like, because once it got the focus set, you're done. We used it and it worked great, and you can get that. It was a little bit more inconvenient. The screen doesn't flip around to the front, so you couldn't see that either. But it works great. Like, I think from there we upgraded to a Canon M50 Mark II, which was like a $600, $700 camera. Amazing camera. It's almost always what I recommend people who are wanting to get into like doing YouTube is the Canon M50 Mark II. Super user-friendly, great image quality right out of the box. You don't need to do a whole lot of stuff. The only reason why I don't recommend it anymore is that they deprecated the M mount, which the Canon M50 uses, so they don't make lenses for it anymore. So if you buy it, you are pretty much guaranteeing that when you buy a new camera in the future, you're going to have to go buy all new lenses too.
New lenses too, right?
Yeah. So you might as well buy, in my opinion, go with like the R50, which is like the newer version of the M50, because at least you'll be able to use your R50 lenses on any of the other R cameras.
Yep. I can say though too, like if like for a cheaper route, I saw another buddy. He does completely different YouTube stuff. I went over to his house. I'm like, "What are you using?" And he pulled out the GoPro 4 or whatever. It's the newer GoPro. GoPro Hero 5, and it's cool because like even on the GoPro, it has where you can go live on your YouTube channel right there on the settings.
That's super cool.
Set it up and everything, and you're getting 4K. Like I mean, 1080p quality, like good shit. And it's a little GoPro you can take everywhere with you, you know? And I was like, wow. And then you could do it has like a little wide, like a clip-on lens too that you can get added to give you that wide view to show even a wider set of your room while you're doing your live. And so it's really cool. It blew my mind. I was like, GoPro's not even that you know what, $400 or $500, and you got some sweet ass setup right there. You know, 4K quality. You can't beat that.
I will say one thing on like 4K, 6K, all of that stuff. So the benefits, if you upload into YouTube, I don't think they let you do 4K. You can't even get 4K. Yeah, it's 1080p is the highest resolution can do on YouTube. I think even on Netflix and on Amazon Prime, because I've been looking up the requirements on stuff, I think it's 1080p on both of those as well if you're going to be streaming. So you can go with like 4K, and the benefits of doing 4K or 6K is that you can like crop in. So like, let's say that this right now, my image was being shot in 4K. It's not, it's being shot in 1080p, and then it's downsampled to 720 for this live. But if it was shot in 4K, and if in editing I wanted to like zoom really close in on my face, if you shoot in 4K, it won't be pixelated when you do that. But if you're shooting in 1080p and then you zoom in, it might get pixelated depending on how much you zoom in. So that's the benefit of 4K. But if you're not planning on doing a bunch of editing like that, we don't even shoot in 4K 99% of the time.
And I can tell you too, the GoPro app, because I have a GoPro and it has an app, and it has an editing app that's freaking phenomenal. Like you literally just throw in a video and it'll put in the clip scenes and like do your little flip overs and stuff. It's kind of really blew my mind because like it's not even expensive either for it, and it will do some really cool cutscenes for you, add songs, etc. Because that's how I've actually done. I pulled videos off my Sony camera and went into my GoPro app and put those in there and did the video editing through there, and then posted it to my Instagram just because it gave me so much cooler tools to use. You know.
I think that's I'm sorry, Ken. I know we're talking so much you can tell us to shut up at any point.
I'm listening. I mean, hey.
I think that so when we first started doing YouTube, this was 2021, I think, is when we started doing it, or maybe like the winter. It was Christmas time in 2020. So because I remember the tree being up in our first videos.
Right.
So it was like December of 2020. We started doing YouTube, and at first I was very much like, I want to do like the more content, the better. So I think we were doing like 3 videos a week, and realistically, none of them were super good. Like I didn't have enough time to edit them. It was more of like, I'm going to get it and put it out. And because I was trying to do 3 videos a week, I ran out of ideas. Like, and it just kind of felt like I wasn't providing like meat as content, if that makes sense. We took a break. So we did that like from winter to spring, and then we took a break and we didn't post anything throughout the summer of 21. In the fall of 21, when we started having clutches again, we started making videos. But when we went back to it, we were like, we are going to do 1 video a week, and we are going to try to make it as high of quality as we possibly can. And at that is the point where we actually started getting followers. Like when you have a bunch of different pieces of content, but all of the audio sounds bad because you're trying to record it in your car or stuff like that, people recognize it. And what it does is they're like, oh, I'm not going to watch because the audio sounds terrible and the lighting looks bad. And even if there is good content in there, they don't stay long enough to find out about it. And it wasn't until we really focused on providing quality content in both presentation, production value, and in like the stuff we were talking about is when I feel like we really started growing. And I 100% like if a video looks too bad, I just won't put it out. There's been videos we haven't done because I'm like, I'm sorry, but the lighting just doesn't look good. Like we might have shot it like not in the snake shop where we have all the lights. I'd be like, I can't do this. Like
that's awesome.
Like, I wish I should start being a little bit more picky about what I put out.
I think that it's different for everybody, but I think one of the things that happened for us specifically is that I hope that this doesn't like come off as conceited, is that we got a reputation for like high production quality, and it would be jarring to people if we started shooting stuff on our phone. Not saying that there's anything wrong with shooting on your phone, but if all of our videos were now being shot on our phone, people are like, what happened? Like
I would question it. I'd be like, what's going on? Like,
that's kind of what I hate too. Like, because sometimes I really do want to post stuff, so I'll go to the Instagram and you can see and you can just look at your cover page, or and I can see some really good photos where we use our good camera, and I'm looking at our phone ones. I'm like, God, it does throw your Instagram off when you have such these really good ones and you have some okay ones sitting here, You
can always remove from your grid if you want. But yes, so this is Nico. He is our new kitten. Oh, hold on.
Oh my gosh.
He's very cute. He is a purebred ragdoll, a lilac ragdoll. So
night, Don.
That's awesome.
Good night, Don.
He's super sweet.
Hey, we're animal people. We got 3 dogs, 4 cats,
and then 90 others.
Snakes, geckos. We got some cresteds over here for sure.
What camera would you recommend to a beginner to take pictures of snakes? That was a question from Celtic up here.
Canon R50 is what I would recommend right now. It's a crop sensor. So what that means on Canon is that whatever millimeters that your lens is, it's going to crop it in a factor of 1.6. So if you have a 24 millimeter lens, it's actually going to look like a 36 millimeter lens when you use it. So if you're using a Canon M50, or R50 is the new one, that's the one I recommend. It's the same version as the M50, it just uses the R mount instead of the M mount. If you're using a Canon R50 and you are wanting to hold it in your hand, you're probably going to need like a 16 millimeter lens. Otherwise, it's going to get too close into your face if you do like a 24 or a 35. If you're going to put it on a tripod, I'd go with a 35 all day long. Go with the 35 millimeter. The R50, I think it'll set you back. don't know exactly how much it is, $600, $700. Then the 16 millimeter lens is probably like $200, $300. And the 35 millimeter lens, I think, is like $300 to $500 roughly. But that's what I would get. I would not use the kit lens unless you just didn't have enough money to get one of the other lenses. The kit lens is the lens that it comes with because they're just not as high of build quality. Your aperture is going to probably start off at like 4.0, maybe at the lowest. And aperture is what's determining like me being in focus and like the light back there being blurry. And that's that. It's not that everything in the entire frame is super in focus that makes people get the perception of high production value. It's the fact that I'm in focus and everything else is blurry, so your attention is drawn to me.
Yep.
So it's a bokeh is what it's called, is that difference on it of
like
how
really,
it like blurs.
If you really zoom it in, you can see how to blur everything else behind us, you know.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I would recommend. If you want to step up a little bit more, like if you're willing to spend like not just entry level prices, but maybe like spend an extra $500 or so, I would recommend probably the Canon R8. It is a full frame lens, or it's a full frame camera, which means you don't get the crop factor on it, but it will. You'll have a wider rate. You will have a wider application with it. Like you can use like the 24, and I like the 24 better than I like the 16 millimeter because the 16 millimeter I think has like distortion at the edges of the image. So there's a lot. I can get into cameras all day long. I love cameras and stuff. I would say, or audio though. Once you can get away with like a decent image where it doesn't look super cinematic or something. But if your audio is bad, nobody will listen to it. Get a mic. I recommend a lav mic if you're going to pre-record, because you're just going to it's going to be way easier just to clip it on your shirt, plug it into your camera. You don't even worry about it. Like,
right.
Yeah, get a decent mic, because this mic I have a problem with it. Sometimes they're like, well, I'll go back and watch the videos and it makes it sound like we're in like a closed in room, like an echo far away, you know, and then sometimes it sounds like I'm like right here in the mic, you know.
Yeah, like we have a Blue Yeti mic right here that I use, and I always sit back from it, so it doesn't give as good of quality as it could. But if I came up and I wanted to talk like this, hopefully this isn't too loud, but it sounds much better. But I just don't like being right up on the mic like that.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense though. The audio, because there's so many, there's so much content out there that it's like, I mean, I do that. If I can barely hear, or it sounds like, like a tunnel or whatever, I'm just like, forget it. There's somebody else that's probably going to be showing something similar or talking about the same thing, moving on, So the audio, that is so true, that's a huge part of it. I mean, you think about that when you look at things yourself, when you're browsing yourself,
100%. And I would say somebody who already has a channel, but they're looking to like upgrade without, I mean, it does cost money if you're going to do it right, and you don't want to get copyright strikes on YouTube, but using stock background music, it can completely level up your game. Like, just simply like, you have good audio, you have good quality audio from your own mic, decent picture quality, and then having a very, very quiet background sound can cover up like a hum of your mic or a fan or something like that. And if you get really good at it, you can use it to signal to the audience what emotion they should be feeling. So like, kind of cool. There's so many cool things. So we pay a yearly subscription to Storyblocks, and they have royalty-free audio and videos that you can get. We're not sponsored by Storyblocks. This isn't like an ad for them. I really like them, but honestly, I hope that other people don't use them, because if they use them, they'll be able to use the same stuff, the same music we can use. And I want us to be able to stand out. So, but that's who we use. There's a lot of them, but don't use Storyblocks. Like,
don't use that one. You guys got any other questions?
No.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm finished up, and we're almost at an hour and a half. We went over our usual, anyways. But Stephen, you've been a great guest. I mean, I felt we left you do a lot of the talking, but
I'm sorry,
I mean,
I talk too much. I'm so sorry.
Just go away with it. We enjoyed it. I loved having you. This was great.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know. I feel bad talking so much.
I was definitely happy to finally get that one-on-one with you. I know we met in Daytona and stuff, but I was like, heck
It was
yeah, I get
busy.
to finally do it again with you, you know? So
Oh yeah,
it-
hell yeah. We'll have to meet up at Daytona again. So
absolutely, absolutely.
And Steven, that's why you were here to talk. We wanted you to just talk.
Right.
Talk some more.
Look, we got Chris Hardwick up in here. What's up, Chris?
Chris,
Hey, Chris.
Heck
got
yeah.
old Bobby going.
Chris, thank you so much for posting a video. The other
Yes,
day.
the other day that was
We loved
great. Yes, we loved it. So keep up with them as much more as you can when you can, should I
Please.
say. I know you got a busy
know you're
work
busy.
life.
Right.
And speaking of that too, Ken, say Stan stuff. We got an auction going on for Stan.
Yeah, well, I was
RWO.
getting ready to get all that to close with it. But yeah, last Thursday, we decided on the RWO show that we are going to hold an auction for Stan and Tiff from Sea of Serpents. As you know, his wife is struggling with stage 4 breast cancer, and we just want to help out any way we can. So we're taking donations. We got a pretty good list already going. Yeah, we're just hoping to have a turnout and, have a really good auction. I mean, we got some banger snakes. I mean, I was looking at that list and I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. And then Jar Pythons even is going to give away in the auction, will auction away a custom cutting board. So you can get your logo on a cutting board and, they'll do it. It's like an egg cutting board. So, yeah, we're pretty excited. As far as when it's going to happen, we're looking at February. We want to give this enough time to develop, enough time to, get some interest in it, get it out there and get some donations to where we could really make a difference for Stan. I mean, everything's going to Stan. It's just, Tim and Tiff, they're going through a rough time. And if we could help, we could help,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, before we jump off, if you guys are good, one quick
Go ahead.
plug. If you guys haven't seen the documentary, definitely jump over to our channel or Snakes of the Fat Man channel.
Absolutely.
Watch the documentary. We're super, super proud of it. We're super excited. Everybody did great. And if you haven't voted today or every single day until Christmas Eve, go vote for your favorite person in the 15 Minutes of Lame contest. So,
Stakes with the Batman. Come on.
Anyone else got anything else?
That's it right there. I feel that's pretty
Thank
good.
you so much,
Yes.
Steven. This
Yes.
was a good time.
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Thanks for
Again.
coming on, Steven. Awesome. Yeah.
And
Heck
Chris, actually, thank you, Chris Hardwick, for subbing. And also, I hit you up on Instagram DMs. If you could check that, I kind of heard you talking about the scaleless head and with the shedding and how you're using the bag bombs. And I learned off of Billy to use this electrolyte soak for my snakes. And since I've done that, man, it comes off like butter off the snake. So I don't know, but if you hit me up on the DMs on Instagram and we can talk more about it, it'd be awesome. So
We appreciate that, Wiz.
Yeah, thank you, Wiz.
yeah, definitely. Thank you, Wiz.
Oh, wait, I see a wait. Big D.
Wait.
All right. We're excited to hear. Yeah, we're excited to hear what you got. So, we're
Wait.
waiting
I got something.
with bated breath.
We're waiting.
Wait.
I know this
All
is
right.
delayed, but it feels like we're waiting a little long.
Okay, while we're waiting for him to come up with it, question. Okay, so he has. Okay.
Oh my God, D, that's cool.
Heck yeah.
Hit me your 10 up, and then we'll just send us the pictures and what they are,
Awesome.
and then we'll go from there. But that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that.
But I'm not going to cut Steven off. Steven had a question, so go ahead.
No, I was just gonna do it to buy time until he put it in there. But I was gonna say what was the last thing that you learned that you felt like leveled you up?
Oh,
I could say rats, ASFs. I just started breeding ASFs about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and now I've got, my grow out bin's already looking at close to 100, and it's only been 3 weeks for me. So, but it's been a good learning process for sure with learning how to pool and add some in there and et cetera, et cetera. It's been definitely a good learning process. And now eventually I don't have to pay for my rats no more. So definitely gave a plus there.
making sure you give your males a good break. Like give them a month, maybe a month and a half off by themselves. Like feed them, get them, wanting to do the dirty again. Just give them a good break before you put them back in. Especially if you're pairing them with 4 females, give them 2 months a break. Give that guy some time off. and then, you know, put them to it. But I that was a hard lesson I had to learn. It is what it is.
Mine, a most recent one was how easy it is to do auto-generated captions for shorts and reels and stuff. Like it's wildly easy. Just auto, like I was like before thinking like you'd have to type it all in. All right, there we go.
There you go.
All right.
This stuff. Yep, you're exactly right. Zoom in, electrolyte soap.
Yeah.
Chris. I let them soak. I'll do like a normal size bin. I'll let them soak. Let me zoom back. Taking pictures. But no, I'll let them soak in a normal bin about 30, 45 minutes. Some of them, if it's got really bad shed, leave them in there for about an hour. And once I go in there, literally you could rub it right off of them. Like it's crazy how it comes. It's mesmerizing. It's mesmerizing. And you'll get like good, solid, long peels off of them too. It trips me out. Really good stuff.
Cool.
And I only say that too because I know Stan, that's one of the projects he's wanting to work. We have some here and he's wanting to try to do some scaleless. So, and we have some scaleless heads. So that's what he's wanting to try to do.
Yeah, I think figuring that out is going to be big. If you can figure out how to make that manageable for like the normal person to do that, I mean, that's going to be big. I think that's going to let a lot of other people work it. And then, I mean, and things look like if you think a hypo clown, whatever combination looks good, it's going to look better scaleless.
Yep.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah, it tripped me out when he showed them the other night, and I seen the belly. It's just a long line down the belly. I was like, wow, no scales at all. Like it's got like a little whole belly. How can I say, like
Looks
a
like X-ray sort of.
Yeah. You know, like it's weird. It's just really cool. It blew my mind. I was like, that's freaking awesome. It's really cool.
I apologize not to turn anybody off from the project. They feel weird to me.
They feel weird.
I don't like feeling them.
Well, it's different and it's some eye-catching for sure.
Yeah, they are pretty, but yeah, it's just I don't like that. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually why I think Brian Barczyk did get out, and I feel like a few other people kind of stepped back off the project because of the bad sheds and the problems with the shedding completely all the time with them. It's a lot of care. I feel like, especially
Like
if you hatch
extra,
out
yeah.
a bunch of them, you know, that's a lot of maintenance and time. You got to put in extra care there.
It feels like
Just
rubber.
rubber.
Yeah.
Is that like rubber or like a rubber? All right, guys. Until next week, we'll see y'all later. Thanks for coming, everyone in the chat. We've had almost 20 people the whole time, so that was awesome. And we'll see y'all next week.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good night.